Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So basically, there is a certain smartphone company that has basically gone down the road and took major blows ever since, the fiasco that happened. So if you don't know who I'm talking about Huawei after the US ban. Now, before the US ban, Huawei was this big, Chinese company that is going to basically take over the smartphone market because their smartphones were selling like crazy. They outsold Apple. Who was basically fighting with Samsung at the top selling spot, basically, and they outsold Apple. When this happened, this took headlines, and Huawei basically after that never stopped and grinded even more and were that close to outselling Samsung because they were beating they were beating the living hell out of every company with their smartphone prices. Now, at their peak, basically the U.S.-China trade war began, and Donald Trump basically decided to place Huawei on his blacklist of Chinese companies that can't work with U.S. companies. So if you're familiar, Huawei smartphones are based on Android operating system, and basically what that means is Android is owned by Google. Google is a U.S. company, so Huawei smartphones will no longer receive software updates from Google. Now, Huawei can, in theory, fix this by making a software themselves, and what they're trying to do, by the way. But as far as we know, this hasn't gone well for other companies in the past, and it's not gonna go well. I mean, Microsoft failed to do it. Microsoft, the PC operating system giant, failed to make an operating system for smartphones, and in theory, this could be possible, but I don't think it's going to be that possible because a smartphone without Google Play on it, without YouTube on it. Imagine a smartphone without YouTube, Google Play, Google Maps. Everything Google related is out of the equation. It is not gonna be purchasable, because we're not used to it, and yeah. So basically, there is, as some of you know, a free version of Android that you can install without charge, but this version is trash. It doesn't even have the Play Store on it, and it is trash. Basically, it doesn't have anything on it because it's a free version, and it's the bare bones, skinned version of Android that nobody wants. So, Huawei is in big trouble because of this alone, and not only that, their current CPUs, have U.S. technologies in them. Have parts from the United States and from ARM, the company in London that makes chips. And basically, this company is not even a U.S. company, but they have parts from the U.S. and that alone is impacting Huawei's their partnership with Huawei. So Huawei now can't have chips, ARM chips, and can't have Android. Now they have a solution to the CPU, which is much easier than the operating system, and because if you have been following the tech news recently, they used less of ARM's technology in their chipset, in their current chipset, and they used more of their own Chinese parts, instead of ARM parts. Now that in theory is again fixable, but this is much more easier to fix than the software problem. Now, since that ban, after 3 months of that ban, people started forgetting about Huawei and stopped following their flagship smartphones. Basically, I mean, they're still releasing budget smartphones, mid-range smartphones that some people are buying them, some people that are not interested in operating system and specs and don't know a lot about them, and some people are buying them thinking that is cool, but their flagships are really suffering, really suffering, because nobody wants to buy a smartphone that you basically have to sideload Google Play on there or YouTube on there, because Google basically doesn't recommend it, because it is going to put security threats on someone's devices, and people are not willing to pay $1,000+ on a smartphone just to get a virus installed on their device. Trust me. Now, with that being said, Huawei, basically, the way that it's gone, and I know there are people who, basically, the people who are Samsung fans or Apple fans are really happy right now. The way that Huawei is gone is going to impact other companies. That, if you realize it, Marquez said it on his MKBHD channel. He is way more famous than me. He basically said that, after this, Huawei can't be as competitive as they were, and that made other companies to care less that they used to. So if you think about it, Samsung and Apple were really competitive and really want to make the best smartphone out there because Huawei was there. But now that Huawei is gone, this threat is basically has toggled down a little bit, and that is going to impact us, the consumers, because as we know, the more competition, the better options for us, because we're going to have the best deal. At the end of the day, is the customer that always wins. Now, after that, how Huawei can recover from this, I mean, it's really hard. Let's face it, because this happened to CDE, and they were never the same since that loss, and I don't think Huawei would be able to fight through this. They may be able to fight through this if they really put their head into it, because this thing is really taking a toll on them. And let's not forget, Huawei also makes PCs, and all of these PCs are Windows. And if you know this, Microsoft is a US company, and Microsoft owns Windows, and basically now Huawei is stripped of Intel chips and the Windows operating system, and that is also another law on Huawei. And I don't know how they can basically fix it. They need if they want to make an operating system, they need to do it fast. Like, they already have something, if they're already preparing on an operating system. And don't forget, Huawei is not the only one at risk. Apple manufactures its smartphones in China. Apple assembles them in China. China could retaliate basically against US by not allowing Apple to manufacture to assemble their smartphones in China, and that could basically mean that Samsung is gonna win in all of those situations, because Samsung is at peace with both countries. And basically Samsung is winning right now. If you're not seeing the majority smartphones that they're making, the Samsung Galaxy S20e has just launched, and I'm going to make a video about it soon. And yeah, so as far as the question goes, I think Huawei is dead for the time being. I'm gonna have to say yes, because they need to act on this big time. Because if they're not dead right now, they're close. They're that close at being dead. They have to act on this as soon as possible. They have to try to find a way to fix it. That is difficult, especially on the operating system part, because as you can see, when other companies, even Samsung, tried to make something other than Android and iOS, has failed. Now, yeah, so basically, yeah, that's been it. Peace.